So next up, I want to introduce our next users. These folks are from OpenInfra Labs, and they're going to tell you all about their mission, their cloud, and some of the challenges that they've had. And I just want to say again, thank you to the Blizzard team for joining and for participating this week. All right, Michael and Bill, take it away.
Hi, I'm going to share my screen.
All right, we're off to the races. Thanks, Michael.
And tell me if after I just hit present, it's still visible and to everybody.
Yes, so you're not in full screen mode, but you are. But we can see the slides. So.
Okay, cool. So really basic question. OpenInfra Labs came out of a project that was started by a group of research universities in Massachusetts. And there's a really simple question there. Why did a group of research universities want to build an open cloud? And basically, it started in about 2010, 2011. It was becoming pretty clear that the cloud was here to stay. And aside from things like lock-in and cost, this presents a very special kind of problem for cloud researchers. If you can't see the data about how the cloud is behaving, it's really hard to do research into cloud behavior. A group of researchers in Massachusetts had this really crazy vision. Let's build one. It didn't need to be a huge one, just one that was large enough to get real users doing real things.
Mike?
Yep.
Your slides aren't advancing. I think you're showing the wrong window.
Let's see. I will skip the, I'll just show this one then. So this was the one that I just spoke to a second ago. Basically, it's about access to real data, real users, and scale.
You're not sharing.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, looks good.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So we wanted to foster a marketplace model where new services could evolve. And we wanted a place for researchers, open source developers, and companies to test new things. Since 2013, we've enabled research and publications on cloud security, performance, new operating systems. And this experimental cloud that we built basically out of baling wire and duct tape is being used and depended on by services that support thousands of users. And it inspired Boston University and Harvard to start work on the New England Research Cloud, which is going to provide something similar to the MOC, but actually have SLAs, support, facilitators, more than 3 or 4 people answering the phones, basically. It's also led to a group of interrelated initiatives. The Mass Open Cloud, which I just spoke about. The Open Cloud Testbed, which is based on the work of cloudlab.us. It's basically moving work that we've been doing on Elastic Secure Architecture that's in the process of going upstream into Ironic into the National Testbed for Cloud Computing researchers so that we can move hardware around within the data center depending on where it's needed. One of the striking things about Cloud Lab is, not really striking, kind of obvious, is that the 2 weeks before any national paper deadlines or international paper deadlines, usage goes really, really high, and it's very low the rest of the year. The New England Research Cloud, which I spoke a little bit about already. OpenInfrastructure Labs, which is a community that's designed to create a standardized, reproducible, and federated open source cloud. And the Operate First initiative, which was introduced by Red Hat at their summit, which is an open initiative to take operations and make them more open source. But this is supposed to be a talk about user stories. And we have lots of really good stories. I want to focus on the one that brought the MOC to the OpenStack Foundation and to the creation of Open Infrastructure Labs, Chargeback and Showback. We basically needed two reports. Our MVP was very simple. We had 5 member universities, and we needed to be able to show the researchers how valuable we are to them. So we wanted essentially who the lead was, their email, their compute usage, their memory. These are not particularly demanding reports, we figured. And the second one had a similar MVP or user story associated with it. Can we show the universities how valuable we are to them? And the reason that that mattered was we wanted their help. We wanted their money. We wanted their resources so that we could do even more. It ought to be simple. I'm not going to tell you about all the wrong paths we went down, the things that changed between versions of software, or the bugs that we were among the very first to find out. I'm just going to tell you what you all already know. Ceph captures data in one place, OpenStack in another, containers in another. It turned out these simple reports were not so simple. Another use case that we ran up against, onboarding new users. The number of potential users at the 5 partner universities is roughly the same number of people as there are in Iceland, several 100,000. It was pretty clear we wanted onboarding automation. We didn't find anything that was built to onboard users of VMs, containers, different types of storage, et cetera, all rolled into one. So we've been building it. Monitoring, another fun use case. There's what you need to have on day 1, there's what you need to have on day 99, and then there's what you need to have on day 999. While clarity exists in user forums and on Stack Exchange, well, not really, but it sort of does. There weren't a lot of examples that we could take and put into a production for the kind of customized clouds that most of us build. To a great extent, everybody's building these bespoke clouds, and it's really hard to monitor that. So what did we need in broad strokes? Better user management, single sign-on, simple would be good too, billing and invoicing, metrics and reporting, monitoring, and we were very committed to doing all of this in the open, not just the configuration, but the day-to-day system admin. We wanted that in a way that others could reproduce it. The problem, if you're an operator, is that the open source community scratches its own itches. And generally that does not include deploying a cloud that you're charging for. So it was driving us nuts. We spoke with our core partners and heard similar pain. We need a place to capture recipes that we know work. We need a place to identify user stories which cross project boundaries so we can share solutions. We need a community of operators. So we talked to the OpenStack Foundation, and we very quickly realized that we were preaching to the choir. Let's face it, the folks at OSF are way more succinct than I am. So in their words, the many-to-many relationships in open infrastructure today poses an integration challenge that can make open source options less attractive than proprietary choices, which are more turnkey. In discussions, we identified what the last mile for open source software might look like and focused in on the goal of creating a home for opinionated open source stacks. We described where we felt things were headed, and we're incredibly excited about this shared vision for the future. Here's what we've been up to make the vision a bit more real. We started almost, I guess, 8 or 9 months ago, last November, December timeframe. We've moved to GitLab to be more accessible to the operator community. We've got open cloud monitoring requirements discussions going in a GitLab board as well as in a weekly meeting. We'd love to have more folks participate in that. The Mass Open Cloud and the New England Research Cloud architectures are actively being defined. In the case of the Mass Open Cloud, the MOC redefined. Red Hat introduced their Operate First initiative, and they've joined this community. And Project Keras was proposed to address distributed compute and distributed storage. They've added a repository and posted their initial manifesto. Ways to help. Sort of the obvious ones. We definitely would like more people involved. We'd like a larger community. We definitely would like people to help us work on the technical gaps. Hardware is always lovely. We're really, really excited about the concept of creating a group of federated clouds that can share users and things between each of them. And obviously funding is always something that we look for. I never knew until I moved in from industry into academia how much universities roll on a river of cash. And here are some useful links on where to get involved, and these will be in the slide as well. If you go to the top level of either openinfralabs.org or massopen.cloud, you'll be able to find links to the OpenInfra Labs projects that are going on. If I was under 10 minutes, and I'm not convinced I was.
I think you are. I'm dying to hear your Ceph story. That was going to be my first question. So I guess I've seen your slides, but yeah, I think you have time. So let's hear it.
Okay, cool. So in 2017, we thought, let's triple the size of our Ceph cluster. And let's do it in August because everybody's away from the universities in August. What could possibly go wrong with that? So the good news is we did not lose anybody to a velociraptor.
That is good news.
Yeah. But let's get this out of the way. We lost all the data. We did a pretty good job of letting people know that there were no SLAs, so most users were okay, except for the MOC, because our website was running on a Ceph cluster and the VM was not properly backed up. And I'm happy to talk more about the specific things that we did there and how we did it wrong, but I'm curious if there are any things in the chat that I should respond to first.
Not yet. I think I would just say, yeah, tell us more about how you
so I will note
your Ceph cluster.
This is as reported to me because I wasn't involved at that point, which is not to say I would not have made worse decisions. I'm sure I would have. We weren't changing versions. We were just adding storage. We were doing upgrades via the failure recovery mechanism, where Ceph would redistribute the data. So you add a new OSD, you create a new map. Basically, the recovery needs to remember all the previous states. We figured that, so I'm looking at some notes now. I haven't talked to the folks who lived this recently. We were down longer than we expected. We needed a lot more memory than we needed, and we had quiesced. So the problem was we added too many OSDs at the same time, and they had too many placement groups. So we had a failure in rebalancing. Eric Olaf is smiling. So how did we fix it? Well, it was irrecoverable on its own. So we wrote a script with some help from folks in the Ceph community. In the original version of this slide, there's actually a blue thing that pops across with the names of all the people that we want to say thanks to. I'll just call one of them out off the top of my head, and that's obviously Sage, who was a huge help in some of this. He did not, however, write this script or review this script. So the script was going to manually do the rebalancing, but it had a bug where it deleted the placement groups. So all the data was lost. We started over from scratch, but this time we used supported bits. The other thing worth noting is this was in a storage appliance. And the storage appliance was an early day Ceph storage appliance, and it had I won't mention the partner it came from because it wasn't their fault. It had some non-standard placement group settings, and we learned a lot. And one of the things we learned was using supported bits makes life better. At least because there's more people to commiserate with when we had problems.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to ask one follow-up question, which was from the chat. Colin asked if was a post-mortem write-up that folks can go read about anywhere.
You know what? I don't know, but I will find out.
Cool. That might be a good conversation for a future OpenInfra Labs discussion. I know it's a great collaborative community, and I don't know if you all picked up on this at the beginning, but this cloud they're operating is for Harvard, MIT, UMass. I mean, there's all these incredible universities on the East Coast in the U.S. They're relying on this cloud for all kinds of stuff, different departments, fundamental research, things that we're all going to benefit from as those breakthroughs come out of those incredible universities, the brightest minds. All science is computer science these days, and they're relying on open source and Michael's team. And if we all get involved in their OpenInfra Labs initiative, we can help be contributors to those advancements by helping make the environments that the researchers rely on at Harvard and all these other great institutions, make it all possible. So thank you all for presenting that. I know they're going to be able to stick around and answer more questions in Etherpad and throughout the event. And but